Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Glad you're here with us on this, what is today now? Wednesday already, 25th of February, Sports IQ with Larry Smith. Glad you're here with us. Great show coming up again. We'll talk a lot of college basketball. Duke, how about the Blue Devils? Number one in the nation, and joining us once again on the show, she's a repeat guest, and we're glad to have her. Anna Snyder joining us from the Fayetteville Observer to talk about the Blue Devils, looking ahead to a big weekend in ACC play. You know, the ACC is back. We were talking before with some guys from, Virginia and NC State, and it's been exciting to see the conference that has such great, rich history make a comeback. And we'll talk about all that with Anna here in a couple of minutes. And then later on in the show, Josh Lewin, he is the play-by-play man for the UCLA Bruins, veteran guy, man, just one of the really talented broadcasters out there, and we're happy to have him on. The Bruins now coming back with a couple of wins after just a bad trip to Michigan last week. Big win over 10th-ranked Illinois at home, and then again they beat USC. And so now heading into the weekend, trying to again build on that resume as they're one of those teams that really was on the bubble about a week ago, but they're back into it. So much to talk about. Great times. NHL is back. We'll get into that in a little bit. NBA, the Rick Carlisle situation. We'll talk about that. But we start, though, let's get a few headlines out of the way before we talk with Anna. In college basketball, how about the streak continues? Miami Redhawks, Miami University out of Ohio, beating Eastern Michigan 74-64, 28-0. And yet, their story, their win streak is not on the front page of the college basketball section of ESPN, CBS, USA Today, Sporting News. There's a Travis Steele quote, the head coach on Sports Illustrated. The only place you can find anything about last night's game on the front page of the college basketball section of any of those websites that I frequent on a daily basis is Yahoo Sports. So congratulations to Yahoo Sports for making it happen and putting Miami's story on the front page. Folks, they're the last unbeaten team in Division I. I know they're not a Power 4 team, but you know what? They're ranked, and they're undefeated in late February. Give them their props. Put them out there. Number one, Duke, meanwhile, defeating Notre Dame and handing the Irish their worst loss, according to one report I saw, since 1898. 156. This was just a blowout. Cameron Boozer almost did it like somebody else has done that. 24 points, 13 rebounds. Notre Dame had won 6 straight home games through the years against number one ranked opponents, a streak that began back in 1974 when they beat UCLA and snapped the Bruins' 88-game win streak. And talk about adding injury to insult. Micah Shrewsbury, their head coach, suffering a lower leg injury in the first half. They said later, confirming it's an Achilles injury. And so he had to wear a walking boot in the second half and post-game. But you know what? For Shrewsbury, coming in after having some success at Penn State, taking over this program there in South Bend after Mike Bray retired, now headed for a third losing season in his 3 years, and now he's got this to deal with. Look, we've already seen what Achilles injuries can do. He's going to have a problem now for a while, so we'll see how severe that is. But again, he had to be helped off the court later and walking with crutches, and so we wish him the best, not only on the court, but also now off the court. Some other action from Tuesday night. Second-ranked Arizona getting the win 87-80 over Baylor. Number 3, Michigan, falling from the top spot in this week's poll after losing to Duke in D.C. over the weekend. The Wolverines beat Minnesota, and so they clinch a share of the Big Ten title. Fourth-ranked Iowa State a winner. Number 11, Virginia, beating NC State 90-61. A mid-game fight in this one, resulting in a Wolfpack player being ejected from the game. Ryan Odom, the Cavaliers head coach, said that really kind of fired up his team, and they want to get the win big over the Wolfpack. And again, NC State, a team that's headed for the NCAA tournament under first-year coach Will Wade. 16th-ranked Texas Tech, playing again without All-American JT Toppin the rest of the way. They beat Cincy in double digits. 19th-ranked BYU, upset by Central Florida, so the Knights get their 20-win season. We talked earlier this week with the UCF Insider about just the turnaround, what they've had there. 13 new players on the roster. They get the upset on the road, 97 84. A couple of upsets also in the top 25. 22nd ranked Tennessee falling to Missouri, 73-69. Also Dayton knocking off 23rd ranked St. Louis. The Billikens go down 77-62. Kentucky head coach Mark Pope fined $25,000 by the SEC for criticizing officials. This was after the Wildcats' loss at Auburn. The Tigers really needed to get a win on Saturday, and they did. Pope wasn't happy with the officiating and made several comments, and so he'll write a check to the league for that. By the way, Kentucky rebounding last night and getting the win at South Carolina, 72-63. College basketball's regular season has just about 11 days left, right? But Charles Bediako is still trying to play for Alabama, and another judge has said no. Bediako, former Crimson Tide star who played in the G League for 3 years, or he played for Alabama for 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23. Then went to the G League, left school, went there. He did get in some time earlier, playing in 5 games this semester for the Tide. The team went 3-2, while he averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds. But again, the judge saying no, you can't. An earlier ruling, by the way, that judge said the players cannot go on to the NBA and then return to college basketball. So there's a story with that. By the way, tonight in college basketball, it's a rematch in the Big East. 15th ranked St. John's is at number 6 UConn. The Johnnies 15-1 in league play. UConn 15-2. St. John's beat the Huskies 81-72 back on February 7th, and they carry a 13-game win streak into tonight's matchup. Also in the top 10, 9th ranked Gonzaga is at home against Portland. Remember, they fell to Portland 87-80 3 weeks ago. By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, and I know you have, Duke is now the new number 1 going into this week. And look, it didn't matter what happened last weekend with Michigan. Duke is on track. I don't see any way that they're not a 1 seed coming up here in the NCAA tournament. And certainly last Saturday, the committee agreed with that when they revealed the early reveal of the top 16 teams, and Duke right there on the 1 line. Number 1 in the nation now in the polls, and joining us once again on the show is Anna Snyder. She's the Duke beat writer for the Fayetteville Observer. Anna, good to see you again. Want to talk first about the game last weekend. People ask why play these games in late February, and I know you're in the middle of conference play, that kind of thing, but I think it's not like the SEC in football where they go play a critter in late November. I mean, this is where you step out of conference, you get against an opponent who doesn't know you the way your conference foes do, at a neutral site. I mean, this had an Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship game feel to it on TV, and I'm sure it was electric there in the arena.
Yes, no, it really did. It really was. It was a great environment to be in. And this was the second straight year that Duke's done that. Last year, they played up in New York in Madison Square Garden, and Coach Scheyer was just talking about it beforehand. He just wanted to learn. This is the time, to learn. Because like you said, this is who you're going to be playing in the Elite Eight and the Final Four. And that was the biggest thing. So definitely very important to do that. And it's cool to see teams start to do that. And it was extremely rare on Sunday, too, because it was also Arizona and Houston played as well, too. So it was just like crazy. It's like a Final Four Sunday or Saturday in February.
Yeah, funny how it worked out. Of course, we didn't know when they set the schedules, but it turns out only the 5th time ever that you had 2 top 4 teams on the same playing each other on the same day. In AP poll history, which is really cool. But I think also it is one that, like you said, for Jon, and I'm going to talk about Jon Scheyer in a moment. The interesting point that he said they're learning, right? I mean, you think, okay, non-conference you learn, the conference you learn, but it's a different ball game in March. It's a different feel. And so how are your players going to react, especially with the mega conferences now? You're not playing the elite teams within your conference with the frequency you would before all the expansion recently. So it's a good way to kind of get your team's attention. And you could point to that game coming up in March saying, listen, remember that game? That's how these are going to be from now on once you get to March.
100%. And Duke had its fair share of tests before it even started conference play. I mean, Florida, Michigan State, Kansas, Arkansas, you can list them all. But yeah, this I think was really important to get through some of that conference slate and then say, okay, where are we? What do we need to do? Where do we need to grow? And I think it showed them just that. And if anything, it also just has to build the confidence too, just heading into March.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get to Jon Scheyer. I'm intrigued. I won't say obsessed. That's not the right word. I'm intrigued by Jon Scheyer. And I've said before that he's the first Mike Krzyzewski assistant to reach a Final Four. And remember, Coach K assistants don't just get any jobs. They leave his bench and go to power jobs. I mean, Stanford, Marquette, Seton Hall, Mike Brey made one stop and then Notre Dame. They get primo gigs. And that may be the reason that they haven't had great success with that. Certainly Johnny Dawkins right now doing well at Central Florida. What is it about Jon Scheyer that makes him different? Now, given he stayed at Duke, the machine was already built. That's an advantage. But what is it about him that makes him so different from past Krzyzewski assistants?
Yeah, so it's cool. I did a feature on him back in November, I think, and I got to talk to a bunch of his old coaches and some teammates, and it just seems like the Jon Scheyer you see now is the Jon Scheyer that was then. I mean, one of his old coaches said, I think it was 7th grade, he's in his kitchen, his family's kitchen in Chicago, writing up plays in his notebook, being like, Coach, we need to use these, like, let's do this. And sure enough, they did. He's just so locked in, and you can tell he just has a great relationship with his players. There's just that mutual respect, and they trust him. And you can just tell by the way that they talk to each other. And yeah, he's taken this team to new heights, it seems. I mean, it has to be hard to follow Coach K, but it really doesn't seem like he's really missed a beat.
And I think you point that out as well. That's one of the really difficult things I think gets overlooked in telling Jon Scheyer's story at this stage in his career, this chapter right now, is that he did follow a legend. He followed a guy who, one of the all-time greats. You could argue, some would say the GOAT, although not as many titles as Wooden, but he's right there in that same stratosphere. And yet he came in, took this thing over, and almost seamlessly made it his own team, where you don't hear announcers pine for Coach K the way you would, a Nick Saban or a Bear Bryant, or even to this day, even UCLA. 50 years later, we're still evoking the name of John Wooden. We don't have it now with Mike Krzyzewski. There's nothing against Coach K. That's just what kind of job Jon Scheyer has done there in Durham.
Yes, exactly. I know I've seen a bunch of things on Twitter, people saying that they don't think he'll get the respect or recognition he deserves until he wins a title with Duke. But just what he's done in 4 years, I mean, the Final Four last year, and they're obviously number one now. I want to say this is the first time number one this season, and the first time, I think I want to say, in the regular season under Scheyer. So they're just continuing to elevate. And that's what he said the month of February was for. And they're just continuing to do that under him. So it'll be cool to see how it unfolds in March.
Yeah. Still recruiting well, still developing well. And now a big game here this weekend coming up. Number 11, Virginia. Here's a team we didn't see coming. We've talked before. I think last time we talked last year, we discussed in terms of the void of those top level coaches. Again, nothing against the coaches now, but you lost all those legendary guys with all the hardware on the shelf. They all packed up and went home and retired. We're now seeing these coaches come back in. And of course, in Virginia is one of those, ranked 11th in the country. It's almost a top 10 matchup right now. You look up, they entered the week 12-2 and 24-3 overall. I have a coworker who went to Syracuse and said, do you realize that Virginia's 24-3? And I didn't. This is all of a sudden, this is a great game coming up this weekend.
I know, it's another big one in Cameron. It's going to be another showdown like it was a couple weeks ago with Clemson between number 1 and number 2 teams in the conference. So we get that again. So that will be exciting. And I know it's just crazy. The ACC, you can just tell the talent in the ACC is up this year, and it's going to be a fun one. I'm with you too. I was looking at stuff like this past weekend. I was like, oh shoot, like this is a really big game. Because obviously I keep up with the polls every week, and then I saw Virginia this week, and I feel like they took a little bigger of a jump, and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, it is almost a top 10 matchup, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This Duke team right now, you watched them last year with the star freshman. They have that again with the Cameron Boozer. How is this team like the team last year? And at the same time, how is it different from last year's team? Obviously, they're sitting atop the ACC. It feels like steamrolling towards they're going to be a team to beat in March, if not the team. How are they alike last year, and how are they different?
Yeah, I mean, they lost their whole starting 5 from last year. And like you said, Scheyer on the recruiting trail doesn't really miss a beat. So they definitely, like you said, high expectations come March. I don't really know. I haven't, like Cooper Flag, Cameron Boozer, obviously the big names. But it's cool to see, you hear so much talk about everyone's like, oh, well, if people shut down Cameron Boozer, like who else is going to score? And Duke has proven they have other players that can do that. You got Isaiah Evans, Caleb Foster. other guys making an impact. So it's similar squad, but or not a similar squad because it's so many different faces. But the talent level is definitely still up there. But it's cool to see how they just completely revamped it, lost their whole starting five, all five of them drafted, and didn't really miss a beat.
Yeah, it feels a bit like the New England Patriots during their dynasty, where you might lose a player to free agency, and they would bring in the same type player to do the same type thing. It feels the same way, where it's you think you could stop Cooper Flagg. Well, here comes Con Knipple, who was incredibly. I thought, well, fans were underrated. Clearly, the NBA understood what he could do, and he's doing that now with Charlotte. It feels the same way now, like you said. It's not just Cam Boozer gets the headlines, but if you're just focused on him, you're going to lose by 20, and a lot of teams are doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. You can double team Cam Boozer. Triple team Cam Boozer, try all different coverages on him, but he'll still find the open man, so they make it difficult. And they have, like I said, Isaiah Evans, Caleb Foster. Coach Scheyer always talks about Caleb Foster, and he says he's just what college basketball is all about, just this journey that he's had with Duke. And the year that he's having now is cool to see. And the different freshmen that are stepping up. Nick Haminia has been playing really good as of late, had 9 rebounds against Michigan. So everyone's just really stepping up, and they're just clicking when it's time to click.
Talking with Anna Snyder here. She's a Duke beat writer for the Fayetteville Observer. Getting into March right now. Again, Duke going into the weekend, just a couple of losses. What do they need? They're number one in the nation, but still every team has to grow and can still develop. What does Duke need to do to maximize their productivity, to maximize their chances of success coming up in the ACC tournament and ultimately in the NCAA?
Yeah, I think Duke just needs to continue to do what they've been doing. I mean, I may have said this before when I've talked with you. It really seems like ever since that California trip, they've really just like clicked and turned around. And I've seen their defense the past few games. I forget the exact number, but they're allowing like 58 points per game, number one defense in the country. They just need to continue to do what they're doing. And it really all starts on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I think this is a Duke team that's better prepared for the NCAA tournament now than they were a year ago because of the quality of play in the ACC. And it's, again, a lot because of, the new coaches, Coach Lucas at Miami, obviously Coach Wade at NC State. We talked about Odom at Virginia, obviously Brownell, Clemson, North Carolina, Louisville, Kelsey. Florida State's having a better year than they did. Cal is improved. Virginia Tech. I mean, all the way down the line, so many coaches and so many teams improving from last year. It's a much more competitive league, and I think that's what will have Duke better prepared this year than in 2025.
No, 100%. And you hear so much talk about that, how the ACC is much improved, this year from last year. And that paired with the non-conference games that is on Duke's schedule, that definitely has them set up nice come March. I mean, there's been a lot of games that Duke's been in their ACC, slate that have come down to the wire. And I mean, not many as of late, but they've definitely had some. So it's, like you said, just good preparation to set them up come March.
Yeah, big finish coming up. The Virginia game here this weekend. Next week, a couple of games again on the schedule. When we began the season, we didn't see the game over in Raleigh at NC State on Monday as a big test, but that will be one. We just saw what they did in North Carolina last week there at their place. And, of course, you get the return game with the Heels there at Cameron coming up next Saturday. You've been watching college basketball this entire season. You followed this. You saw that Michigan and what they can do, even though they lost. Who are a couple of teams you really have your eye on in March? Obviously, I know Michigan, again, number one and before Saturday. But there's so many great teams out there. Are there a couple teams that stick out for you other than Duke?
Yeah. I was watching Kansas last night, Kansas, Houston. Obviously, Houston has to be a tough one with Duke, because of how it ended last year. I would put Houston up there. Kansas, I know Duke has already played Kansas, but they played Kansas without Darren Peterson. So I think that could be, possibly a team that could do something, could be another interesting matchup. There's a lot, and there's some Florida. Florida's another one. Duke beat Florida, in December, but Florida's really hitting their stride right now. So there's going to be so many. I'm really excited. Like I can't believe there's 4 games left of the regular season. Oh. I think Coach Scheyer even said that yesterday on the weekly ACC coaches teleconference. Just like, it's crazy. We're here. It's gone by so fast. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there are so many. I mean, I really do think there are, you could say 12 teams have a legitimate shot at the national
Mhm.
championship, and another 20, 25 teams that you could say have a legitimate shot at reaching the Final Four. I mean, I think there's great parity. And while it'd be easy to say, oh, the one seeds are going to, no, I don't think so, because you got
Yeah.
Florida could wind up a 3 seed, and a 3 seed that nobody would want to face in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. I mean, they're playing as well as anybody, and Coach Golden's did such a great job there. And listen, we know you're super busy. We appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Man, congrats on the great trip to D.C. How much fun is that? And we'll be calling your number here as we get into March to talk more about the Blue Devils.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a great day. Have a good weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks. Anna Snyder, once again, she's the Duke beat writer for the Fayetteville Observer. And again, looking ahead to this weekend, big game at Cameron. It's high noon Eastern time on ESPN. 11th ranked Virginia in the house. Who would have thought that would be a game for the ACC lead, potentially? Okay, much more to come here on the Sports IQ.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. 800-373-8414. That's 800-373-8414.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. We turn to the NBA and 6 games in the association tonight, including a possible NBA Finals preview. Oklahoma City is at Detroit. The Thunder winning in Toronto last night, 116-107. Cason Wallace tied a career high with 27 points. So OKC goes to 45-21 on the season. They're an NBA best 21-7 on the road, and they get this done, the defending NBA champs, without last year's most valuable player. The Canadian native Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not play. He didn't make the trip either due to an abdominal strain. We don't know if he's going to join the team in Detroit. We will watch and see this. But again, 2 teams right now. Detroit just having a terrible outing the other night, Monday night. Again, terrible shooting by Cade Cunningham in that loss, and so we'll see if they can bounce back. Another matchup. Speaking of Toronto, we talked yesterday about the schedule makers doing them no favors. The schedule makers have them hosting the Thunder on Tuesday and then hosting the Spurs on Wednesday. San Antonio, all they've done is, again, show that they may be the other team to beat in the West. 9 straight wins coming in, trying to go for 10 in a row tonight as they're on the road north of the border. Another great matchup is Boston at Denver. The Celtics sitting high up in the Eastern Conference standings, 4 straight wins for them. Again, getting all this done without Jason Tatum. It's amazing what they've done here this season. Meanwhile, Denver only 15-11 at home. They actually have a better record away from Denver than they do the Nuggets there at home. So we'll see what happens with that. We talked at the top of the show about Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle and just ripping the NBA for that $100,000 tanking fine. The league claiming the team has held out healthy players to potentially lose and then maybe get a better odds of a high draft pick come June. We've seen this a couple of times. In fact, Utah fined $500,000 by the league for doing this. Here's the deal. Indiana sat 3 starters in a game against the Jazz, and one of those players, Aaron Nesmith, Carlisle said the league should have consulted team doctors about his situation before coming up. And the league has answered as well. Again, it's not going to change anything. You still got to write the check. But again, that's what's going on there. Hey, the NHL resuming play tonight after a 3-week break for the Olympics. 8 games on tap. A lot of good ones. Avalanche at the Mammoth. Toronto visiting Tampa Bay. Dallas home against Seattle. New Jersey plays host to the Sabres. And Edmonton is at Anaheim. For Pittsburgh, no Sidney Crosby for a month as the Pens put their star center on injured reserve due to that lower body injury suffered against Czechia in the semifinals of the Olympic tournament. Canada losing to the USA 2-1 in the gold medal match on Sunday, so Canada taking silver in this. But Crosby, again, because of that, he was not available to take on the Americans in that gold medal game. He's out at least 4 weeks with this, again, beginning tonight as Pittsburgh takes on the New Jersey Devils. It's amazing. 21-year veteran Crosby showing no signs of slowing down at age 38. 27 goals, 32 assists this season, 3-time Stanley Cup champ already. The question is, can the Penguins hold on and stay in the Stanley Cup race without him here in this next month? We will watch and we will find out. Women's college basketball, big matchup tonight. There's one involving a top 10 team. 8th-ranked Michigan coming off that loss at Iowa on Sunday that dropped them in the polls. They are at 13th-ranked Ohio State. The Buckeyes coming in, losing 2 of 3. Remember, the women's conference tournaments begin next week. Regular season is ending on Sunday, so we're coming down to the end of that season. Top-ranked UConn, in fact, they take on Georgetown tomorrow night. That game can be seen on TNT. Huskies undefeated on the season. How about their head coach, Gino Auriemma, earlier this week, making the 655th appearance in the Associated Press poll. That is the record now for head coaches. It snaps the previous mark set by Stanford legend Tara Vanderveer. All right, stay with us. We've got much more coming up. We talk a little hoops. UCLA Bruins as Josh Lewin joins us here on the Sports IQ.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-425-1161. 800-425-1161. 800-425-1161. That's 800-425-1161.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation. 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
We were talking earlier this week about the record set at Pauley Pavilion Saturday night. The first team ever to, according to ESPN research, to rebound from 23 points down to beat a top 10 team. And that's what happened. 95-94, UCLA beating then 10th-ranked Illinois in overtime. Joining us now, the man who was on the call for that night, play-by-play man for UCLA, Josh Lewin. Josh, good to talk with you. Take us to Saturday night. This was a game that Bruins getting blown out of the gym and fought back to get a really important win as they try to position themselves now for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Larry. And the context is really, everything about this game. I mean, sometimes you get just like a random comeback, and it's always fun when that happens. But this one hit a little different because UCLA had just gotten trashed in the state of Michigan. They had one good half, played the Wolverines to a virtual tie in the first half in Ann Arbor, then just got boat raced. It was 46-18 in the second half. Then they go to Michigan State, and it's the equivalent of 46-18 in the first half. They kind of in garbage time evened it out. So they had two just horrific halves of basketball, and there was controversy with Mick Cronin because of his I guess, actions or antics or whatever you want to call them. So, you come home and you're now pretty much on the wrong side of the bubble, and your coach is a national headline, and it's UCLA. I mean, this is supposed to be a very proud institution, but, in every single way. So much riding on this game on Saturday. You're trying to kind of get one back for your coach and get him back to respectability. You're trying to save your team's chances to get to to where you want to get in the tournament, and you find yourself down 33-10. And I mean, so it's just like the whole building was like, what in the wide world of sports is going on here? Illinois had traveled very well. I mean, the Illini fans were making a real lot of noise. I mean, as I would totally expect them to do. And yeah, UCLA had missed 10 shots in a row. And then suddenly they made 11 shots in a row and 15 out of 16. And the tide was turning. And one of the best free throw shooters in the country was fouled with a second to go, shooting a 3-pointer. So, you crawl to within 7 points at halftime instead of 23. And you're like, okay, maybe. But again, I think everybody was still burning from what had happened in Ann Arbor. It's close at halftime, then you just get punched. And this was different. This just went back and forth like a horse race. And Bruins probably should have won it at the end of regulation, but they couldn't figure out what shot to take. Two guys had fouled out. You go into overtime and you're like, man, that was a spirited try, a good job of coming back and making it a game, but you're not thinking they can really pull it off. Then there are 7 lead changes in overtime. Illinois would hit 2 free throws and the Bruins would hit a 3, and then, back and forth and back and forth. And it comes down to a mad dash down court that has usually about a 5% chance of working out if you got less than 5 seconds to just slither down court like that. But Donovan Dent did that. I guess everybody was looking for him to pass it since he had 15 assists and no turnovers, but he just went full on Tyus Edney and laid it in at the horn. And as you said, it was just an incredible finish to an incredible game.
Yeah, the Tyus Edney and it actually, had he come from the other side of the court, he would have taken the same exact path as Tyus Edney. That's how close it was to Tyus. When I watch this, I'm like, this is like deja vu all over again. And talk about his performance, Dent. 15 assists, no turnovers. I don't know if I've ever seen that kind of stat line.
Yeah, it only happened once in UCLA history. Earl Watson in the tournament, I think it was 99, had a 16-0, and the 16 is still an all-time Bruins record. So, Dent came very close to that, and of course hit the money ball right at the end. Same guy that had been forced to take an ill-advised 3 at the end of regulation when the Bruins couldn't figure out what play they were running. But I mean, Donovan Dent, it's been a weird year for him. He was supposed to be the savior transfer, got a ton of NIL money, and it's been very pedestrian. But when they needed him the most, he absolutely delivered. And it's funny, we asked him after the game if he even knew the legacy of Tyus Edney, because you got to stop sometimes and remember we're old. I mean, that,
right.
Tyus Edney was 30 years ago, and these kids are 22. So no, he had never heard of Tyus Edney. We had to educate him in real time. But it really was, to your point, just a weird deja vu moment.
Yeah, with those reminders where we're not 25 anymore. You're exactly right. Talking to Josh Lewin as UCLA getting the big win, and again, renewed hope now for the postseason for them. You mentioned about Coach Mick Cronin, outstanding coach. People forget that it was just a few years ago they led the team to the Final Four. It feels like since he's been to the Big Ten, he's just not happy. If it's not, they're traveling the East Coast all the time. It's the new world of Big Ten basketball. Obviously the thing that happened this week with this player is what's going on with Mick right now? Is it just some frustrations or what's happening with him?
Well, Mick, I mean, he burns bright. That's always been his thing. He's very intense, and off the court, out of season, he's a pussycat. It's a guy that really is, good family man, all of it. In season, he's Cujo. It just, the eyes get like, alarm bell red, and he just is not in his right mind sometimes. He's just so intense that he just is not completely there. He's just down a different path of intensity. So, most of the time, I think that works out okay because it's really a motivating factor for everybody. There are times where I think he'd say he's his own worst enemy because he just, again, he's just kind of in that funnel, in that vortex of just, whether it's like, when he thinks that something isn't right or something isn't fair, he just really kind of clouds over. So, yeah, he had a double whammy of that, I think, in East Lansing, where, he was very upset with his team. Had kind of misperceived something with a player, thinking it was a dirty play, which it was not. And when he steps out of his mind, when he gets perspective and can kind of get recentered, he's back to regular Mick. But, like it, love it, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that is the thing when he gets in that dark place, where he just can't see anything other than injustice, or, that could be like with whether it's his own player or an official, or, a plane that doesn't take off on time, you name it. I mean, he just gets in that moment where, yeah, he is absolutely his own worst enemy. But does it take away from the fact that he's an incredible basketball mind? No. Is he the person that most wants to win out of anybody I've ever met? I mean, that's just who he is.
Yeah. You talked about the player that he ejected there at Michigan State, and you said later he came back and said he made the wrong move. Did he have a conversation with that player? What was the fallout from that?
He did. And again, that's kind of a context piece, right? Because, this poor guy, Stephen Jamerson II, who's like the sweetest kid ever. And a fascinating story. I mean, his dad was an audio mixer, worked for all the great studios, Sony and Hitsville, and, was working with Prince and, all these incredible, artists. And Stephen II, after basketball, wants to be either a movie director or a TV director. I mean, he's got this creative mind. He's just like this really quiet, introspective, interesting, talented, brainiac kid. Problem is he's a walking foul. He's just a very clumsy basketball player. So last guy you'd ever think would be dirty. And again, Mick, in that alarm bell moment, just, doesn't remember that that's Stephen Jamerson. That's not in him. That's not who he is. Yeah. He had gone back to Michigan State, hit Stephen. That's where he started out as a student. Tried to walk onto the basketball team there, was told, we don't have that. There's no chance for you to even audition. So he asked if he could be a student manager and was told to hit the bricks. We don't need a student manager. So, twice he had been kicked out of that building already as a Michigan State student. And that's the context, how humbling, he's got all these friends and family around. And here it goes again, just he's on the one hand, Mick tells his players, I want to see you hustle. I want to see you make a great play. I want to see you pay attention to defense. He's thinking, okay, I'm finally in the game. I got a chance to do that. I'm going to make a play on a ball. And then he's getting kicked out by his own coach, so, you really felt for Stephen Jamerson II. And yes, when Mick in the light of day was able to look at the play on a replay and see that, okay, that was not a dirty play, he absolutely apologized to Stephen Jamerson, as he should have.
Yeah. I know we talked about it here on the show. And one thing that I felt was that we all have talked about Jeremy Fears Jr. and the myriad of things he's done to opposing players with zero consequence. And so for a lot of us, it wasn't so much about Jamerson, it's more about, gee, if you're a coach and you do see something, here's something you can do. Although with Jamerson not as deserving as possibly Jeremy Fears. So, but
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what you could have done, and maybe in retrospect, is you bench the guy.
Yeah.
But, to call him out, make him walk across the court like that, especially at a place that meant so much to him. It's one of those where you're just kind of uncomfortable watching the whole thing go because, it's kind of like, Mick's better than that. Stephen Jamerson is not that kid, but in real time, nobody knows any of the context. So you're just kind of like, oh man, this is bad.
Yeah. Looking ahead to next week and the end of the season, home game against Nebraska. The Huskers having a great season. And again, second game coming up against USC. It's across town at the Galen Center this time. This still is a Bruins team, I think, that's shown that they can play with anybody. What do you feel they need to do going into the Big Ten tournament and getting ready for the NCAA?
They got to rebound. I mean, it's as simple as that. Mick finally has a team that can score. And we've seen that, they've been in the 90s, albeit in overtime against Illinois and Indiana. And, when Dent is on and finding open men, you got a bunch of 3-point shooters on this team. They can score. They cannot rebound. I mean, they gave up 20 offensive rebounds to Illinois, points in the paint, actually evened out, but second chance points, in the first half was 15-0. And, they've got Xavier Booker, again, in from Michigan State. Guy is 6'11". And there have been patches this year where it's like one defensive rebound in 45 minutes, two defensive rebounds in 65 minutes.
Wow.
That just cannot happen. If you're 6'11", you have to go in there and get some rebounds. And, and it's not just him. Everybody's got to be able to do that better. So, strangely, against some taller teams, things have worked out. I mean, Illinois has the Ivasic guys. They're like the Winklevoss twins for basketball.
Right.
And against Purdue, big team, big physical team. They beat Purdue. They play Nate Biddle at Oregon. They beat him. So, Hannes Steinbach of Washington. That's an NBA pick because he's a great rebounder and he's 7 feet tall. He beat Washington twice. So there's a path. They've got to do a lot of other things well, but that's what worries me, obviously, Larry, is if there's that you go to Wisconsin and you have an off night shooting and you turn the ball over, you can't save yourself at that point. But the one thing that can show up every night is attention to detail on the glass. If they can find that, then maybe there's a path forward.
Yeah, and maybe good matchups for them in March as well. And if any coach can get it done, Mick's been there before. Certainly, there's no question. Josh, we know you're super busy. We appreciate your time here on the show. Man, great luck to the Bruins here in the tournament. We love seeing them. I know that not everybody at UCLA is happy about this. I'm excited as a Midwestern guy growing up to see UCLA a chance to play all these Big Ten teams and vice versa. Hopefully the travel's not too bad for you, but enjoy the rest of the way. Hopefully,
I appreciate it. Look, I'm from upstate New York, so I don't mind the snow. And Mick's from Cincinnati, he doesn't mind the snow. But you're right. The back and forth is a lot. But you know what? That's above Mick's pay grade and my pay grade and everybody else's. Somebody thought it was a good idea to have West Coast teams in the Big Ten. And, you play the ball where it lies. So I'm never going to complain. I get paid for watching basketball. So you'll never hear me complain.
Exactly. Josh, thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, Larry. Peace.
All right, appreciate it. All right, buddy. Josh Lewin, once again, play-by-play man for UCLA. The big win this weekend over at Illinois and getting ready now for March. Stay with us. Much more to come here on the Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. That's 800-215-0341.
NFL Combine beginning here today, and it'll be here this week in Indianapolis. A lot of talk is about quarterbacks always, right? It's kind of where things begin for so many teams. Great job at some research and math by the folks at Front Office Sports. Do you know the top 4 richest quarterbacks ever in NFL history? Number 1 is Matthew Stafford, $408 million. He's got a ring. Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers, $395 million. He's got a ring. Tom Brady is retired, but still he's at $333 million, not including the money he makes at Fox, which is a higher salary there than he ever made with the Patriots or the Buccaneers. Third place, $333 million. In fourth place, at $321.7 million, Kirk Cousins. Yes. Remember the background of this. He was a mid-round pick out of Michigan State that was drafted the same year as RG3 and was going to potentially be his backup. RG3 didn't work out. He ends up being a starter. And what the Redskins were doing, they were never sold on him being the guy long-term. They were looking for somebody else, so they kept giving him, franchise tagging him and giving him like these one-year deals for, it was like, $22 million, then $24 million, then $27 million. Well, they said, we're not going to do that anymore. He goes to Minnesota, signs a massive deal. At the time was considered massive, $30 million plus every season he was there. Then he goes and he signs a deal with Atlanta to be their head coach, to be their starting quarterback, right? With all this, this massive money, 4-year, $180 million deal in 2024. and $100 million of that was guaranteed. Well, they sign him, then 3 months later they draft Michael Penix Jr. With a top 10 pick out of Washington, Heisman runner-up and all that. So all of a sudden he's the guy that's out. Well, he starts part of Penix's rookie season, and then they give way to Penix, and then Penix starts this season, and then he gets hurt, so in comes Cousins again. Helps them win 4 straight wins in the season. So the question is, do you keep him around? Well, the Falcons have made it clear this week, no, we're not going to keep him around. They're going to cut him to avoid owing him another $67 million in guaranteed money. This is according to the new general manager, Ian Cunningham. Matt Ryan, the former Falcons quarterback himself, future Hall of Famer, should be in the Hall of Fame one day. He's now running things there in Atlanta for the Falcons. So the way the structure of the contract goes, they are able to cut him without owing him more money. And so, again, we'll see what happens there. But I thought that was interesting when you look at that in terms of, he's a free agent again. Certainly can still get it done. But, boy, he has made the 4th most money of any quarterback in NFL history, Kirk Cousins. That's incredible. Another quarterback that we're watching to see what happens here in the next couple of weeks is down in Miami with the Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Kind of the same deal. He is owed $54 million this season. If the team cuts him, then it'll be a charge of $99 million in dead cap money against the salary cap that can be spread over 2 years. But again, it's one of those where there's something, and you'll see just what happens there in terms of with Tua and with Kirk. But again, they're looking right now at the NFL Combine and who is next, right? In terms of who's the next quarterback. Right now, Heisman Trophy winner, out of Indiana, the star quarterback Fernando Mendoza is someone who is considered to be number 1. Pick in the draft. We'll see if that continues as we march toward the draft here in late April. We've talked quite a bit about the Olympics and NBC and just what a resounding success it was, with the reports coming out now of the viewership Sunday morning for the gold medal hockey game, men's hockey game between the USA and Canada. That drew a record for a morning session. Nearly 21 million viewers all across NBC. That's just NBC Sports, but also USA Network, streaming on Peacock, watching this live Sunday morning. That's the second most watched hockey game ever on NBC Sports, trailing the 2010 men's hockey game that was a gold medal a contest again between the USA and Canada. That one won by Canada. That one was more than 27 million, and it was also in the afternoon. That was the one that was in Vancouver. It's the first gold medal for the USA men's hockey team since 1980, the Miracle on Ice, when USA defeated the Soviet Union in the semis, went on to beat Finland in 1980. But those games weren't televised live. You had to, later, watch on tape, or as producer Tony was telling us, he lived in Western New York at the time growing up. If you got CBC as they did, you could watch it there. So there you have it. Another story we've been watching here in the past several weeks is that with the Chicago Bears' new stadium, shall I stay in the Chicago metro area, or should I go to East Chicago area over in Indiana? We've talked again last week, Indiana state legislators approving a deal to spend up to $2 billion on building a brand new stadium there in the Gary, Indiana, Hammond, Indiana area. That's northwest part of the state, the corner there. That's roughly about 25 miles away from the Bears' current stadium there, Soldier Field, just south of downtown, right there along the lakefront. And so, again, kind of watching more of this of just what happens. Listen, there's no question the Bears would like to stay in Illinois where they have everything right there. But Indiana at least is making it interesting, and we've seen this years ago again with New Jersey, luring the Giants and the Jets over. And then more recently, what we've had with the Kansas City Chiefs leaving Missouri and Arrowhead Stadium, where they have been since time began. And again, the stadium there that was built in the early 70s, to a new Diggs $3 billion stadium on the Kansas side, Kansas City, Kansas, and they're going to actually give them ownership of this. So they're talking about, again, just trying to find ways there to fund this bill through a lot of local taxes, much the way they did in Indianapolis when they built the new dome there to replace the old RCA dome. We're still watching this in terms of seeing what happens, but it feels like it may be coming to a decision the next few weeks, several weeks, or a couple of months, the Bears, as you know, really wanted to break ground in 2025 as they want to bid for a Super Bowl in 2031. It appears that window was gone, but still, there's lots here. So watch this space so we continue to see just what they're going to do there in Chicago or Northwest Indiana. Okay, our moment of awe is up next.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt, that's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
Okay, time now for a moment of awe. And if you're ready to watch your favorite NHL team with the Olympics now past, again, the play begins tonight, your wait is almost over. 86 years ago today, another wait came to an end as 300 New Yorkers were able to watch the first televised hockey game. The Rangers beat the Canadiens 6-2 at the old Madison Square Garden. It was just an experiment by the TV station we now know as WNBC. Just one single camera going back and forth, showing all the action, how far they have come. It would be another 16 years before hockey on TV became a regular thing. But yeah, hockey on television, 1940 on this day, first time it happened. And that's our moment of awe. Hey, we appreciate our guest stopping by. Anna Snyder talking Duke basketball. Josh Lewin, the UCLA basketball play-by-play man. Thanks to you as always. Let's make this a great day. And we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.